So, as a St. Louis Cardinals fan, this video is going to be very tough for me to make, but the whole premise of this video is that the St. Louis Cardinals aren't going to make the postseason this year, and it might be another very rough season as a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Now, I understand for anyone that's not a Cardinals fan, oh, boo-hoo, the team that made the postseason the last 10 out of 11 years isn't going to make the postseason again this year. And I understand the St. Louis Cardinals have been a phenomenal franchise for most of their conception. Since I've been born, I've seen them win 2 World Series, been there either 3 or 4 times, I believe, have had very good teams, have always had very good players. Last year is one of, I think, the first year in like 10 years the Cardinals have had a losing record. And this year, they're definitely not going to make the playoffs, and they could also have back-to-back losing records. We'll see if they'll have a losing record. They probably could, and they're definitely not making the playoffs. And here's why. I'm just going to make a quick little 10-minute video on to why I think the Cardinals aren't going to make the playoffs. I think everyone probably can agree with that, but maybe there's some St. Louis Cardinals fans that are holding on to hope, and unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen. First and foremost, let's look at the 2023 season and why the Cardinals sucked so much. The Cardinals finished with the 6th worst record in baseball, I believe, which netted them the 7th overall pick in the draft, so at least that's something. But in terms of pitching last year, the Cardinals allowed the 7th most amount of runs, and they also allowed the 7th most allowed, they were 6th on runs allowed per game. Or 7th. So, or 6th or 7th. So pitching was absolutely abysmal for St. Louis, and they knew it. During the middle of the season, St. Louis blew it up. They traded Jordan Montgomery for some... That was actually a good trade for him. Both sides, Montgomery went on and won a World Series ring, and the Cardinals actually got some good prospects in return. But we also traded away Jack Flaherty and Montgomery, 2 starters, Adam Wainwright, the GOAT, has officially retired now, and last season he sucked anyways. So St. Louis, this offseason, traded away all of their, or last season traded away all their pitching staff, and this season they're like, all right, we're revamping the pitching core. And one of the pitchers that they went out and got was Sonny Gray, which I absolutely loved this free agency signing. He had a phenomenal season in Minnesota last year. Now, he's 34, so he is older. He is older. I think we sent him to a 3-year deal. But 34 still is not terrible. Last season, phenomenal numbers. 2.8 ERA. Just played lights out. And he can be a true number 1 pitcher for us. We still have Miles Mikolas, which I love. After our number 1 and number 2 pitchers, it goes downhill. We decided to go out and sign Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson to 1-year contracts, and I have absolutely no clue what we're doing with those. I get they're just 1-year deals, but we signed 2 36-year-old pitchers to 1-year contracts who both looked pretty bad last year. Lance Lynn allowed the most home runs in the MLB, and Kyle Gibson, he was stat padding last year. Yeah, he had 15 wins, but he had a 4.75 ERA, and he was lucky enough to be on an Orioles roster, which was stacked and scoring a crap ton of runs. So I don't get what we're doing. I guess I like Kyle Gibson a bit more than Lance Lynn, but after Sonny Gray and Mikolas, our pitching staff is ass. Straight garbage. Not to mention that our starting 4 pitchers here are all 34 and older. It's not looking good. Now, I see here that they got Drew Rom and Zach Thomas here in the starting rotation. I'd highly doubt that's going to happen. I think our 5th starter would either be Liberatore or... Where is he? Steven Matz. Steven Matz started for us last year, and he actually did pretty decent in the second half of the season. Pretty bad first half of the season, but a 3.86 ERA, better than both Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. Now, he is 32, but I think Steven Matz would probably be our 5th starter here. Maybe we'll have Liberatore in our rotation, and if we have a bullpen game, Liberatore can start. But our pitching staff, our starting 5 pitchers, are going to be 32 and older. 34, 35, 36, 36, 32. It's not looking bright for the pitchers in St. Louis. Pitching is absolutely abysmal. Now, like I said, we do have Matthew Liberatore, who is very young for St. Louis. I believe he's 25 now. And he just hasn't developed how you'd want him to. He was a top pitching prospect, and he's shown flashes. I think there was a game where he allowed it no runs through like 7 or 8 innings last season against the Tampa Bay Rays. But besides that, it's looked like absolute crap. It's like Liberatore has shown signs of greatness, but also just, good God, he throws the ball over the plate way too much. Like, teams are just able to constantly get hits off him, and he's not really painting the strike zone. He throws the ball right in the middle of the strike zone, and it's ridiculous. And he doesn't have crazy elite speed either, or velocity with his pitches. For our bullpen, we signed a lot of new guys, and our bullpen's okay. We'll get Ryan Helsley back for our closer, and that'll be great. Giovanni Gallegos has been a really good reliever for us for a while, and all these other guys are pretty new. I know we're bringing back John King, who we traded for at the last season. He was pretty good. Jojo Romero actually was doing really good for us too there, and Notting was also on the team last year as well, so was Pilati, but all these other guys are all new. So we'll see how the bullpen is. We might be using our bullpen a lot because we got fucking Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson in our starting rotation. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing. Now, I do know that if you go over to the Cardinals prospects here, they do have Tink Hintz as their number 3 prospect here. And from the games I've watched and from all the scouting I've seen on Tink, right now he is seen as an elite reliever, but they're really hoping he can become a starter. He has a crazy 2-pitch combo. He has a really good fastball that can go 94 to 98 miles per hour, and he's also got a really good changeup as well that can go with it. However, outside of those 2 pitches, he doesn't got much going on, and that's why he's considered to be a really good reliever right now, because he's got that really good 1-2 combo, but he doesn't have a good curveball. And that's what he's trying to develop right now. He has a breaking ball, he has a curveball in his arsenal, but it is nowhere near as good as his fastball and his changeup. So if he can get a hold of this curveball, and he's only 21, he's younger than I am, then he could be a really good starter for St. Louis. So I'm thinking maybe we're holding off for Tink here, and that's where we signed both Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson to just 1-year contracts with the mindset of, we'll have Sonny Gray, BR1, we'll have Michaelis, BR2, and then maybe this year or maybe next year, we'll have Tink come in and try to be 3. Hopefully Liberatore can develop. We'll see how that goes on. I also know that last year we traded over for Robbie. I don't even want to pronounce that last name, from Texas in the Montgomery trade, and I've heard good things about him too. Here they're saying that he could be his stock is rising really fast and he could be a starter. So I know that in the bullpen or in the farm, we have both Robbie and Tink Hintz, so maybe that is who we're waiting on to replace some of those older guys. And then I know Cooper, don't even want to pronounce that last name. St. Louis drafted him in the first round out of Oregon State, but he's just looked like ass. So pretty much all of these guys after 7, like there's Robbie and Hintz, and then everyone else, not any real chance of them ever starting in the league. Maybe McGreevy. I know Drew Rom's technically on the team now, but the only real guys in our bullpen that I'm actually excited about is Tink Hintz and then Robbie, who we traded for last year. So the pitching sucks. We have basically no young, proven pitchers, and that's the key word, proven. Our starters are all 32 and older, and Liberatore has not taken that step that you want to see. And then the only young pitchers that we have, like I said, is we have Tink and we have Robbie, but they're not proven. Neither of them have an MLB start yet. So this pitching staff sucks. And what I don't get, and what really ticks me off, is why don't we go sign Blake Snell, dude? He's 31, and we could sign him to a massive 4-year contract. If you look at the Cardinals' salary cap here, compared to the league average, they're 10th, which is obviously top 10. But say they sign Blake Snell to what would he want? $25-30 million contract, that still keeps him at 10. And let's not mention that they signed both Lance Lynn here and Kyle Gibson to 1-year contracts, which is taking up $12 million and $10 million respectively. Replace this $10 million contract with only a $15 million contract. You have Blake Snell, who was arguably one of the top 5 pitchers in the league last year, who's only 31, and you're only getting an extra $15 million in total payroll. I don't get why we don't go sign Blake Snell. I honestly don't. Maybe he doesn't want to come to St. Louis, and you know what? Fair point. But he would instantly be their number one pitcher. Blake Snell, Sonny Gray, that would be such a sexy combination. I'm so glad we signed Sonny Gray, but I was really hoping we signed another really good pitcher too, because right now we only have 2 pitchers that I feel comfortable with Gray and Michaelis. I only feel comfortable with Gray and Michaelis. After these 2 pitch, we're screwed. We're screwed, man. And unless our offense goes off, which that brings me to the second point of this, is that for how good our offense is on paper, they just don't perform as well as they should. At least not last year, they didn't. Last year, the St. Louis Cardinals had the 14th best batting average, and I believe they had the 18th best or the 18 most runs per game. So they were an average offense. So basically, we have a bottom 10 pitching staff and an average offense. And what did we do to fix that? We brought in Sonny Gray, great, but we brought in Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. Last year we had Jordan Montgomery, who went on and won a ring, and Jack Flaherty, who was also good. We have downgraded at pitcher. We've downgraded. We lost Montgomery and Flaherty and replaced them with fucking Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson, who are both 36 and old as shit and ass. So we've downgraded at pitcher. And then batting, well, so like we just established, we had an average batting core last year. Did we do anything? We went out and signed... How old is Matt Carpenter now? We signed 40. Is he fucking 40? Oh my god. Where do you see the age at? Am I just supposed to do the math? 95, 10, 05, 40. Oh, 38. We signed 38-year-old Matt Carpenter and 37-year-old Brandon Crawford. Those were our 2 free agent signings for the offense. And honestly, I actually don't hate it because our offense does have a lot of young talent on it. If you look at first base, we obviously have Paul Goldschmidt, who he's getting up there in age. He's 36. He was the MVP 2 years ago. Last year at a down season, but still pretty good. But eventually you do need to have a replacement plan for Paul Goldschmidt, because like I said, he is 36. He's already started declining last year, so this could honestly be his last good year that he has. Wilson Contreras didn't look as good as you wanted him to, but he looked better in the second half of the season. So catcher, I'm not worried about. First base, yes, we got Goldschmidt, but he's getting old. Now, everything else, though, I'm comfortable with. First base is the only real position where I'm worried about because we don't really have any plans outside of Paul Goldschmidt, and he could still suck. But second base, we got Brendan Donovan, who's young. I think he's 27. He looked really good for us last year. We got Nolan Gorman, who is a really good power hitter, arguably the best power hitter on our team. Now, he needs to get this average up bad, but 27 home runs, and he missed a lot of time last season too, is really damn good. Needs to get up that average desperately, but he's still so young. He's 23. Nolan Gorman can be a beast for us. We still have Arenado, who's great. He's only 32. We can still have him for 2-3 more years. Mason Wim, who's our top prospect out of shortstop. He debuted last year. Didn't look that good, but it was so crucial for him to get those reps. And he's also only 22. Then our outfield is what I'm really happy with. Jordan Walker, Lars Nootbaar, Dylan Carlson, Tommy Edman, all super young pieces. I believe that Tommy Edman is the only guy. How old's Tommy Edman now? Tommy Edman's 28. 28 is our oldest outfielder. So we got Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, and Tommy Edman out there at right field, center field, left field, and Dylan Carlson to back them up. Also, one of our best prospects, Victor Scott II, who is one of the fastest players in baseball. We also have him on our team, and he could be elevated this season or with elite speed. Now, and he's a great defender. He's not the best hitter yet, but if he can develop at a hitting game, he can be phenomenal. But he has elite speed, so he can be a pitch hitter for us, and he can be great in the outfield. And then we also have Chase Davis, who was our first round pick in 2023, and he's still developing well. So maybe we won't see him this season. If not, that's not the worst thing in the world. I also know that right now in spring training, Thomas Sagis is getting a lot of looks for us. So he could also be someone that makes the team. So in terms of offense, we have a lot of young talent waiting in the core. We brought up Jordan Walker last year, who's looked great. Lars Nootbaar has looked great. Brendan Donovan has looked great. Nolan Gorman has looked great when healthy. We have Mason Wim, who can develop really well. Then, like I said, we also got Victor Scott and Thomas Sagandis and Chase Davis. So offensively, the only position I'm worried about right now is first base. Third base, I'm not too worried about because we do have a couple of young guys that I think could slide over to third base for us. So the only real position offensively I'm worried about is first base. If Paul Goldschmidt continues to decline this year, you might have to look into trading him and replacing him at first base. And so offensively, I'm not too worried about this Cardinals team. Pitching-wise, though, it's atrocious. Like I said, we do have pick 7 in the MLB draft. I'm really hoping we can pick best pitcher available there at 7. Honestly, if we have to reach, like, say, pitcher goes, 1, 2, and 3, and we have to take the 4th best pitcher, that's completely fine with me. Unless there's, like, a freak first baseman, I honestly don't know anything about this MLB class, I'm going to be honest with you. If there's a freak first baseman there at 7, I would gladly take him, but it better be first base or pitching that we're taking at pick 7, and it better be. And I'm honestly wouldn't be surprised if we suck again this year, which it's going to be because of this pitching staff, which really sucks because our offense, like I said, we have an average offense. But if we can develop some of these guys, then I believe that our offense could become something very special. If Mason Wynn develops, if Jordan Walker continues to take steps, if Lars Nootbaar, he's already been looking phenomenal, and if Nolan Gorman can stay healthy and continue to take steps, if some of the guys that we call up be really good. So offensively, I like where the team's looking at. I really hope it can develop. Pitching-wise, this is ass. And this right here is the reason why I don't trust the team, because it's going to put so much pressure on these young guys. That's why the St. Louis Cardinals aren't going to make the postseason. Mainly because the pitching sucks, and every single free agent we signed this year was about 34 or older. 34 Sonny Gray, 36 Lance Lynn, 36 Kyle Gibson, 38 Matt Carpenter, 37 Brandon Crawford. I guess we're just really banking on our young talent to develop, and hopefully with all these young guys as mentors they can. But anyways, this has been CM Freeze. Please leave comments down below if you agree with what I have to say on this opinion. I hope the St. Louis Cardinals do really well. I'm really looking forward to seeing this young talent develop, and peace.